Less hours for Ken Smith.
All right, you're running. Okay, February 17th, it's a little after 6 o'clock. It's supposed to be the Facilities Committee. Present is myself, Tamara Twardowski, Ken Smith, Mary Beth Torsha, in the audience, Megan Weber, correct? And also Rich Martino. And we currently do not have a quorum of the committee, so we will just be discussing items until such time we would get a quorum. So, Mr. Smith, you want to give us building updates?
Just going to go over building updates while we got going on right now, open items at right now. Let me start at the high school. Right now at the high school, we have a cooling tower. It's actually a sump tower that is froze up. We rented torpedo heaters. It's unfroze, and we're addressing the issue right now. We have a pan heater that malfunctioned. I check the buildings every morning. The temperature on the cooling tower read 64 degrees.
Oh, hello. Okay. That's okay.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
All right, we'll just pause for a minute here, and Suzanne Dugan and Mr. Larry Speed just came in, so we now have a quorum. So
Okay.
I guess we can go back to an actual committee meeting.
Sorry.
That's okay. No problem.
How are you?
20 of my phone.
Good.
Beep, beep, beep.
I'm Larry.
Ken Smith.
How are you?
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Ken's our go-to guy for every single thing that's wrong with the building.
Give you
You can't fix it. Nobody can. You look kind of sweaty, Ken. You look like you've been working hard.
I've got some nice cologne working too right now.
21 days straight up
Yeah.
to Sunday.
And just think, tomorrow it's going to snow again.
Mary Beth's going to handle it.
Could it get any better?
I know.
Just show her how to use the plow.
Yeah. Actually, she was the first one ever to come out and give us guys donuts and breakfast sandwiches and coffee, bring it out. Everybody appreciates it.
Well, if you ever talk to my husband and hear him tell why he married me, I helped him change a tire in the put chains on in the snow. He said,
Nice.
I knew she was for me right then and there.
All right.
We're going back to building updates. We're number one on the agenda.
Okay, yep.
He was just started a minute ago. So
Just started about the high school sump tower. What had happened, I get up every morning to check the building temperatures, the loop temperatures. Evidently when we had the ice storm, it's a 3-phase pan heater on it. Evidently it blew the pan heater because we single-phased. The tower froze up. So we have torpedo heaters in the tower right now, melting the tower. So basically we can get the tower unfroze because there's no mixing valve in that school. So when the loop temperature gives above 85 degrees, basically we start drawing off the tower for cooling to the loop. So we have to get it fixed, because if we don't get it fixed, the building is going to get hot. It's going to overpressure, high pressure on the heat pumps. Then it's going to go cold. So we're going to get that fixed on Wednesday.
When you're talking about the tower,
What's the tower?
yeah, is that where the water's held?
Okay, the tower basically, are you familiar with like a loop system on a heating system?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the 4-pipe system. So basically, you run your average loop temperature probably from 65 degrees to 78 degrees. Okay, so when that loop gets saturated, okay, we start drawing tower water, okay, colder water to chill the loop down. Okay, we don't have the capability of doing that right now.
And what are the ramifications other than that would be bad?
That would be bad right now. Okay, when we start getting into warmer temperatures on Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have to draw from that tower. Or what's going to happen, basically the loop will get hot. It will basically send our heat pumps into high pressure. They will lock out. Then the building will get cold.
So can you get it fixed, did you say?
We're going to get it fixed Wednesday. We got to get the fire company up there because it lost prime on the pump because it couldn't draw any water out of the tower. So I lost prime on the pump. Birdsboro Fire Company comes up, connects onto our return side. We bleed the return side on and basically turn the pump on and use the butterfly valve to choke it down to get the air out of the system. We should be good to go. I'm not really concerned about the pan heater right now because we got to drain the tower to change the pan heater. So,
Can we do that with our staff? With
yeah,
your staff?
I do it. Yeah. That's the big issue at the high school. Also at the high school, with all the snow that we're having right now, basically what happens to the annex side, with the snow piled up against the outside air makeups on the standalone DX units, they're the individual units that are in the classrooms. It can't get no air. It gets cold air. And what happened, the freeze stats kick off the units. So basically, we got to go out and shovel around the louvers and stuff like that to get them open so the freeze stats don't go up, or cover them. A lot of times right now, if you go up to the high school, you'll see it in the faculty room. There's a piece of plywood up against the louver with a 2x4 against it, and that's keeping that unit running so the freeze stat don't go off. There's nothing wrong with the freeze stat. It's fine, but it's just the nature of the beast.
How many units are there like that in that building?
In that building? Altogether, probably in the school district, there's probably over 400 heat pumps. That's the same, just like a boiler or heat pump you have in your house.
But you were talking about the ones like for individual rooms.
Yeah, I would say
At the high school,
I would say APC and the annex are all the same with the DX units in them. The rest are water source heat pumps, the individual standalone units that are either in the ceiling or in closets. MEC right now, that was the high school, the big item at the high school. MEC, basically we have a couple fan motors on heat pumps. We basically have on order right now. We replaced one today. Mikey replaced one today. We got room, I think it's 117 up and going. We have one more to replace. So we'll try to get that tomorrow if the weather permits. We have temporary heat in there. We have little electric heaters we put in the classrooms right now for when that happens. APC, I've been dealing with an issue over at the primary building on the regulator for the gas valve on the condensing boiler over there. What's happening right now with the colder weather, basically with colder weather you lose gas pressure, so we usually run probably about 11 to 12 pounds of gas pressure in there. Right now our gas pressure is probably about 8. We went over to adjust the regulator at the boiler today, and that spring is smashed, so we can't get no more gas pressure into that boiler. And what happens when that thing goes on high fire, goes down to low fire, goes back onto high fire to heat the loop back up, it basically flames out and it shuts off the unit.
Is that due to what, Ken, just age or?
No, it's a brand new boiler. That's due to a bad pressure regulator.
Is that something covered under warranty, or the World people handle that for us? Or?
No, we'll replace it.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a cost to us, or?
For the parts. Yeah. Yep.
What temperature do you have to keep that APC building at now?
Right now, during the day, I keep it probably about 58, 60 degrees. You don't want the floors buckle on and all sorts of stuff. You know what I mean? It's an old building.
And it's harder to keep it warm without people in, isn't it?
Yeah, well, body's heated up. Body's heated up. So that's the issue we're having. That's the issue we're having there. AIC, we have a couple rooftop units up at AIC for the library. What they are is basically makeup units up there. There's big, huge desiccant wheels on these things. The desiccant wheel on the rooftop on the library needs bearings. What happens is the desiccant wheel, it's a single-phase motor with the belt going around the desiccant wheel. What happens after it runs for a while with that thing, the bearings being bad in it, it falls off, the belt falls off, and basically it heats up inside and goes off on high pressure, so you got to go up and keep on resetting it. As soon as we get the time, we'll replace the bearings in the desiccant wheel and bring it back up online. Let me see. Birdsboro, boilers. Basically, the big thing we did there is 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, I went in the building and closed down the boiler to basically so the welders could come in to weld the boilers. Walked into the building, it was ice cold. Basically, we lose a lot of power out there for some reason or other. I mean, the whole part of town does out there. And basically, the boiler tripped out. The one boiler that we had on, it tripped out. And when that tripped out, basically, we had no control on the compressor. So troubleshot that, found out the coil on the contactor fried. So we replaced the coil on the contactor, got the compressor back running on Sunday, and brought the building back up. The welders were there the following Monday and welded the boiler back up. So far, so good.
Just the one, or did they both?
Just the one this time. Same one you seen when you were out there. Yeah. Now, basically, what's happening now to that boiler? Okay, it's past its life expectancy. What's happening right now, when you weld, when you heat that up, it's cracking above the weld. And it just keeps on cracking above the weld, and it keeps on cracking above the weld. So, hopefully the weather changes real soon, that we can just run the building on one boiler.
Aren't they both cracked?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, they're both cracked.
Yeah.
Well, one's worse than the other.
One's a lot worse. Actually, what happens, if you look at the bottom plate, like of the boiler, okay, if you look at the bottom plate where this thing sets on, it's like this, okay? This should be 90 degrees, okay, perpendicular down like this. What's happening right now, in the middle of these boilers on the same side, this thing is mushrooming out.
And
okay?
That's why it's cracked.
And
so
it's stress cracks.
Yeah.
Is what's happening. Okay, because the boiler is just sagging like this, okay, mushrooming out the base of this thing, and it's stress cracking. And that's what's happening.
And there's nothing you can do about that,
No.
because it's too heavy to
It's
push
a
up.
steel tube boiler. It's not a sectional boiler where you can pull the sections apart and rejoin them. You can't. It's a steel tube boiler. They either keep on welding it and crossing your fingers, or you replace them.
Yeah, well,
one or the
we
other.
just heard, the price is all over the place for this. Like,
Yeah, I got a price here to share with you.
is it the same one they gave us at the meeting last week?
No, I just got this.
Okay.
I mean, I just got this. You want to get into this now?
We could do that, I guess. We could skip down to the BEC heating system. Sure.
Okay. Right now, this is through the Cooperative Purchasing Network. It's like CoStars. It's General Services out of the state of Pennsylvania. State contract bidding right now. Basically, for 2 new boilers in there right now, you're looking at $388,000 and $388,500 for 2 new boilers.
And that's installed, or that's...
That's 2 new boilers installed.
Okay. And we wouldn't have to bid that because that's state bid.
This is through state bid. Yeah. This is through state bid.
Okay.
These guys deal with that, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now that would be to replace...
And that's through Train. That's
Okay.
through Train.
I know because there's been different numbers thrown out, and I guess there was a study that you had looked at from Train, which was to replace everything, or overall all the improvements in an ideal world over the next few years.
All the improvements in an ideal world over the next. I'll just go through
I
this.
said maybe you can kind of shed light on that.
I'll just go through this worksheet here right for you right now. Okay, unit ventilators, which are the fan coils in there. Okay, basically what it is it's a 2-pipe system out there. Either you got air conditioning or you got heat. There's no...
It's a switcher.
There's no
It's one or the
mixing or anything. It's one or the other. Okay, so basically what happens is.
Thanks.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. So basically, Right now, we got univentilators in there, fan coils, whatever you want to call them. There are 66 of them in that building. Their average lifespan is 20 years. We got 25 right now. Boilers, fin tube, okay, steel. Lifespan 25 years. We're at the lifespan 25 years.
And that was on what item?
That's the boilers.
The boilers themselves.
Yep, that's the boilers.
Oh, so we are only at really, okay. All right.
Yep. Yep. Controls. There's pneumatic controls in there. It's a Dinosaur system. Their average lifespan is 20 years. We're at 25 years. The piping system, it's a two-pipe system. Okay, if we wanted to go with 4-pipe, really doesn't matter. It's 25 years old. We'd have to put 2 new sets of pipes wherever we want to go with it. Radiators, convectors, that's just is what it is. It's just the radiators in the hallway with pipes going through with fins on the outside of it, little fins where it goes through like the old baseboard. You know, there's really no life out of that until the pipe starts leaking. Domestic hot water system, basically, Ashira has a lifespan of 25 years, and we're at 25 years. Unit heaters, basically the little unit heaters like in the vestibules and everything like that. Their lifespan is 13 years, we're at 25 years. Exhaust fans in the bathrooms, average life 25 years, we're at 25 years. Chillers, we just put new chillers in there 2 years ago. So the chillers are new. We put a new roof on that building 4 years ago with a new fire panel 4 years ago.
Brian, just so you know, we were talking about, we jumped down to the BEC heating system.
Yep.
And they have a quote
How you
from
doing?
like a state contract, which we wouldn't have to bid. For the boilers to be installed would be $388,500.
And that's just the boiler.
Just the boilers. And then he was talking about...
That's the boilers, okay, and that's valves on the boilers because you got to put new valves over top of the boilers. Basically, that's the controls for the boiler, okay. Interface it with the chillers outside. You got to do that on a 2-pipe system, or you got to do it on a 4-pipe system. So basically, that's it. Valves, isolation valves, boilers, just controls for the boiler, and associated wiring, engineering. You know, you need drawings, and that's basically it. Start to build chillers and boilers and get them operational.
Does that bring them up to where you are with the other ones? My understanding is you have a pretty nifty way of setting those up. I'm Greg's neighbor, by the way.
Yeah.
So he's told me a little bit about some of the technical things that you can do with the other systems in the other buildings.
Yeah, basically the systems in the other buildings, I can basically bring everything up. My usual routine is get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, check all the buildings as far as the loops. I can check all the air conditioning loops, I can check the heating loops, I can see if there's any alarms. That basically we got to go out in the morning. I meet the guys at 5 o'clock at the building, and away we go, take care of the issues.
Would this cost that you're talking about here, would that be all online as well? Would that bring you up to that same facility?
Just the boiler and the chiller. That's it. I won't see none of the other building. The only thing I could see is the boiler running and the chiller running.
Okay.
So is this the only building that you don't have access to on your computer?
Mm-hmm.
What would it take to bring that one up?
What, the whole building?
Mm-hmm.
Ballpark, what Train gave us right here is $2 to $2.5 million for the whole thing. Univents, that whole thing that I just
so
went
that's
over.
where that number came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, because see, we had, when we first looked at the buildings, when we took the tour, the new members, you or somebody mentioned $100,000 a boiler. And then at the next meeting, I asked the accountant, and he's talking 2 million, and it's like,
A little bit of a delta.
yeah, a little bit. So now we're down to the 388.5. Is that for the two of them?
Yep, that's right here. Through state purchasing, joint purchasing off the state contract bid.
Have you ever bid anything out and compared it to the state bid?
Mm-hmm.
What do you find? Is the state bid that good?
State bid's a lot cheaper.
It is?
Okay. Yep.
My line of work is very different, but we've dealt with state bids and they've been not competitive at all. So I didn't know if it was a comparable thing.
Yeah.
So,
It's supposed to be your lowest price.
Yeah.
I mean, we have learned that on some things. There's some room for negotiation. But we found it specifically with vehicles. I always thought it was supposed to be the best price, but I found that if you call up and compare, sometimes you can get $500, $1,000 off.
Well, basically, you go out for state bid and you go with train and everything like that. Basically, if you go out for bid, you need drawings to go out for bid.
right.
So you need all your technical background. You need certified everything on that. So you're paying engineers' fees on top of that.
And you're
Then
paying
go out for bid.
advertising and legal
You're paying
and all
for
that.
advertising, and
Yeah, there's cost and all that.
there's a lot of costs in
and your
that.
time and everything
Yeah.
else. So.
Yeah, I'm sure it depends what you're. I mean, if
Right.
you're going for pencils and paper, it's one thing.
Right, if you're
Yeah.
going for some technical, it's
Yeah.
more difficult.
Yeah. So you're. I'm fine. No, I'm just thinking about how much easier it would be all the way around if that was up to speed and you could check it on the computer like everything else. So how do you check that building then?
I go there. I go there every day.
The old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
I go there every day.
Well, now if the
On
boiler,
the weekends, a couple of times.
if the boiler and the chiller were online at least, would you know whether? Would you still have to go to the building every day? You would know that at least there was heat was either on or off.
You can bring it up on my laptop right there, and I'd be able to bring it up and see what the loop temperature is, what the boiler's firing at.
And you could do that for the 388.5? Okay. All right. Well, I guess, one of the things that I think we should probably take a recommendation back to the board for is, whether or not we, or I guess what Mr. Martino is looking for too, is whether or not we recommend repairing the system or proposing to close the building. So I don't know if we can have a recommendation coming out of committee yet at this point, if you feel we have enough information or not.
I have a question.
Sure.
What do the enrollment numbers look like downstream?
Projection, I'm not prepared to answer that question. I can tell you what it is, and I could probably give you an idea of what, are we talking specifically Birdsboro?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have my laptop.
Let
I
me
don't
let
have
me
spreadsheets.
just let me pull up
I don't
what
have
our
nothing like that.
Yeah,
oh, that's why you have me here.
but so you might be able to sort of figure it out from Kim's.
Yeah, we had that on the chart.
It's just a matter of
Projection.
finding. I don't have that with me.
She can probably find it fast.
I can picture it in my head.
Well, I think, you have a couple issues in my mind while she's looking for that, if she can, to me, it's also more than just enrollment numbers. I think my personal opinion is closing a school, specifically BEC, which really is the only school on that side of town. You have a lot of walkers. It's a part of the community. Personally, I'm not prepared to do that in a 2 or 3 week.
Their enrollment,
Kind of a
they've
thing.
been pretty consistent class size wise. Right now, their total population K to 5 is 392 students. We have 3 current kindergarten classrooms, 4 first grades, 3 second, 3 third, 3 fourth, 3 fifth. We've had 3 of each grade level in that building for, I want to say, as long as I've been here. There might have been 4 for a little bit. At whichever level, without me going back and doing past enrollment, I couldn't really tell. but they're right about where they've been, maybe give or take 20 students.
For how many years? 3 years?
I want to say for at least the last 3-4 years.
So it's been flat?
Yes, basically.
I said,
I
my
know
daughter graduated last year. I mean, she went to BC. I think there might have been 4 classes for some of her years, but I mean, you were pretty.
It all
pretty
depends on what's coming in. But we thought we were going to have far less numbers in kindergarten, and ended up, going with the third kindergarten classroom needing to. So it's the smallest of the 3 elementaries.
Okay, so there's that factor. But we can't answer anything as far as predictions, looking down the road right now.
Right, now, yeah, without having Mr. Seldenridge's information right in front of me, no, I don't have any predictions in front of me of what he's
I've
looking
got
at.
access to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere?
Yeah, you do have access to that. Like I said, I just didn't bring
I
my
can get it.
laptop, so I don't
Yeah.
have it.
It was right on the
It was on
website.
the chart that he put
There's
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a financial presentation that has his numbers with the morality and projected. I don't know if it's broken down by school though.
No, it's not. Is it this one?
Yeah, I would say I don't know that that's broken.
It's birth rates. And
We might be able to have. I don't know if we can break it down by school, but we just know the total per grade per future. So
What about empty space? I mean, my understanding, and I don't, being brand new here, it's kind of difficult. My understanding is that there's a lot of empty space in the other buildings.
The elementaries?
Yeah.
0 right now.
There's no...
Not at Amity Elementary Center, there is 0 space.
Okay.
That thing's
We're at
packed.
capacity, and we're actually in overflow into the LGI. So we have a large group instruction room that has a divider in it, and we've taken one of those portions to put a 5th kindergarten in. That building is at capacity. With regards to the current enrollment that's in there right now. Monocacy probably has some wiggle room because I believe she's using large classroom space for small group instruction, things like speech, OT, PT, any kind of tutoring that she might be doing for children that are getting pulled out and maybe working with an aide. She's using some classroom space that way. A year ago, I couldn't tell you how many rooms. I think I might have had 5 or 6 rooms that I could, push.
we could push,
well,
yeah.
and maybe a better way to do this is before. I mean, we kind of discussed the heating system before we do a recommendation. Maybe we kind of skip around because I think the proposal to move 5th grade. And I mean, that might give us more information on how you anticipate we could potentially close that.
Well,
so,
do you want me to discuss
is that okay if I jump that around?
Some
That's
Okay.
fine.
business, okay.
Because I agree with you on the community aspect of that school. And that's probably the school that you'll get the most pushback from the parents on because the kids walk
Yeah,
to school.
and we live in the borough.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the community is gonna have some pushback, and I'm not saying if it's the right thing to do that you may not do that. My concern with that is that if it's rushed and it's forced down people's throats, and it looks like it's being done in a month's time, so that's fine. Yeah.
I
I'm
agree with
sensitive to the appearance of it as well. And I'm sensitive to the fact that it's let's just call it, a neighborhood school.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a part of the fabric of the community.
Well,
But I'm also sensitive to the fact that we don't have any money.
I understand that, but I don't know that. I mean, and I'm also going to caution you that sometimes short-term solutions aren't long-term answers, and I think we've seen that in the last 10, 15 years of the district. And so I'm just cautioning. I didn't have a lot of those decision-making abilities, but unfortunately, I've been sucked into the tail end of all those decisions, and I've listened to the complaints and the outcry from the public, and even some of the people that have been elected have run on those campaigns of bad decision making. I'm just saying, we don't want to perpetuate the same thing.
Right.
And so
Living in the borough, my father was born here. I was visiting my cousin today. She lived on 2nd Avenue, or Second Street.
Second Street, yeah.
Yeah, right down there.
Okay.
And
both on
then they
Second.
moved further down the street near the paper box company. So
Yeah.
I know the borough. I mean, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Oh, I'm just saying that hearing that pushback, and it's more of an emotional argument,
Definitely.
maybe more so than a rational or logical one, potentially. And I don't think I know all the facts yet either.
No, I think, but we are going to be the ones that are
Yeah.
going to hear
We're
it
gonna-
from our
Exactly.
livelihoods.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Our
think
neighbors.
the thing with the, I think when we get down to the next item or down to the redistrict,
Well,
that'll maybe give us some more.
well, and that's why I was thinking maybe we hop around a little.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my idea for moving fifth grade was really only me trying to think of a way that we could help reduce the numbers in the current buildings that we have if we would have to move students out of Birdsboro and place them somewhere else. Just trying to think of ideas that could be cost effective. And I know that we could move fifth grade from all three schools into the middle school. There would be space. We would have to rearrange things there, but there would be space to take those students. The other reason for thinking about it was I knew I could reduce a staff member as a result of putting fifth grade all under one roof, because then we can more equally distribute the students among the classes, opposed to the distribution that's done across the district. There's a few other districts in our county that have a 5 through 8 middle school. It's kind of running two schools within a school, but it's not unrealistic to do, and it's not very difficult. There would be other things that would have to be considered. It was just my way of trying to come up with another way of not hurting program and possibly, reducing something.
I personally like the fact that Mrs. Byte said that we would not lose music program, and it wouldn't cost us any more
Right.
for the fifth graders to be assimilated into the music program for the high school.
Correct.
That in
Middle
itself
school.
is great.
I don't know how. I mean, I don't know what the current staff there with the instrumental music that they're serving 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. How that will work exactly. I don't know if we have to try to rotate somebody else up there. How we would cover those additional students. I think there might be some kind of an impact. But I couldn't tell you, I'm just really at the surface of scratching and really just seeing if we had space and looking at things that could be saved or opted into.
How would that impact busing, do you think? I mean, I know there's kids already on a bus,
Right.
but would it be some of them be going further? And does that cost us more as far as transportation runs, or you don't know?
Again,
Okay.
not there
and I
yet.
don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are questions that came up. We had discussed this at our curriculum instruction meeting as well, and those were things that I was going to look into.
Well, I think the good thing is they're going to go there the next year anyway. So,
Right.
A lot of your middle schools are 5 to 8.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, so that, it works.
It's true. I
Right.
guess those buses are already running for the 6th through 8th.
And with that proposal, I was also talking
Trying
to
to
our
find
business
out.
office about, looking at our before and after school daycare provider,
don't think we'll
and
need another bus.
possibly getting a quote from other
More
daycare
stops.
providers that might be interested in having that before and after, but would be interested in the during the day part to be able to offer, something along with our kindergarten program, so that if children are going to daycare for half the day anyway, prior to coming to our morning or afternoon program, perhaps if we had something in-house, then we would be able to, lease that space and be able to provide, and hopefully eventually get rid of that midday kindergarten run, which I would hope parents would opt into, our program.
Okay, if we did that, do we have the space?
If we move fifth grade out, we would have the space in each of the buildings.
Oh, okay.
Unless
The space to
you
do
take those
To
kids.
possibly bring in an outside provider to provide daycare for students in kindergarten for the opposite time that children are in our classes.
How does moving fifth grade, for lack of a better term, how does moving the fifth grade children out, how does that affect the population of the other elementary schools?
It would reduce Amity Elementary Center by 6 fifth grades. There would be 3 classrooms less at, there's 6 fifth grades, yes. There would be 3 less classrooms at Monocacy and 3 less at Birdsboro. There's 12 currently, and I know that we could take those 12 to 11.
When you were looking at this, though, was that, I mean, I know you were looking at it for multiple reasons. Mm-hmm. Would that provide enough room for all of Birdsboro classrooms if you had to move them?
Into the other 2 buildings?
Yes.
I don't know without knowing what redistricting would look like, and you'd have to tell me which families would get moved where.
Well, I was going to bring that. I was the MEC. Where are the kids from MEC? And where are the lines sort of now? Because my thought would be it would make the most sense to have Birdsboro kids going to MEC.
At one time, I know when I first started as principal at Amity Elementary Center, the students who were in the trailer park on 422 were students that came into Amity. They no longer, I believe, they're now going into Monocacy because I don't know the lines well enough. I think almost all of the children that live in the apartment complex down
on 724.
Yeah.
on the other side
Amity
of 422
Gardens?
behind Red Rose. I know that there was a portion that came to Amity, and now I believe they're all at Monocacy.
Okay.
So there's, I believe it's
right.
that 422 corridor that anything that's kind of right on the fringe would push back in over, and I don't know what the number would be.
No, I'm just thinking because I mean if you're gonna do it for the redistricting, I think you're gonna. I mean I know even before Monocacy was around, because we have friends that were in the trailer parks, and that used to be. It was kind of they went both ways depending on space, and then depending on who had kids and families in one versus the other, they didn't want to split the siblings.
Right.
So, I mean, I think
it's ideas. I was not promoting or I wasn't recommending redistricting for the 2014-15 school year because I don't think that gives anybody, our parents, enough time to be able to digest that and for us to be able to really figure how many students we're talking about.
Right,
so
but if the board would vote to close BC, you're going to have to.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to need to know exactly what that would entail because
okay.
Yeah.
The children in Birdsboro Elementary, where did they come from? Are they all Birdsboro?
They're all Birdsboro.
And there's no busing at all there?
There is busing.
Birdsboro, Geigertown, Culptown.
I would say there.
I know where the line is. 345 is the line between Monocacy and Birdsboro going that way.
Oh, okay.
Because, that's where the line is. At least.
Okay, so they can't.
Okay, because that wouldn't have helped, but maybe it's changed since they built. Because I would say my daughter went before Monocacy. I used to live across from Culptown, and she went to Birdsboro, but now with Monocacy being built, maybe they Do you have any idea, and you may not, approximately the percentage of kids that go to Birdsboro that are bused as opposed to walkers? Like, do you think it's 60-40 or do you, I mean, if you don't have any idea, that's fine. If you had any kind of an idea, I just wondered.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm thinking, man, I don't even know if it's 50-50. Yeah.
How many buses come in there?
To Birdsboro, that I don't know. At Amity, I had over 18 buses pull up to the curb. Sometimes as high as 19, depending on what year.
I would say Birdsboro, I would say anywhere from 6 to 10. That's just roughly me being outside working on something and seeing the buses pulling up out back.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's what we're looking for, something.
I can have that information.
Yeah.
That's all. I know it's all going to come up as part of whether or not of costs and comparisons. I just was wondering.
It's a shame because that school looks newer.
Well, it was redone in 20 years ago. I mean.
Well, Birdsboro?
Yeah.
25.
25. Okay. I remember when it was upgraded.
It was a new building because the Roosevelt sat above that.
Okay.
They knocked took the
Okay,
Roosevelt and Washington building down and built this.
Oh, so
Must
it's
be all
okay.
that good maintenance work.
We try.
How old was the other building? Just out of curiosity.
What, the
The
Roosevelt?
Roosevelt building, yeah.
That was the high school one time. I don't know. I don't really
Well, then you
know.
had the old elementary school on Bird Street too.
We had
Yeah,
Lincoln.
the Lincoln.
Yeah, McKinley, which is apartments now,
Yeah.
out in Texas.
So, well, like I said, I don't personally know that I have enough information to make a recommendation to propose closing the building. I guess the question is, are we better off, I mean, in my mind, are we better off scheduling a reparative heating system or replacement heating system so we don't have an emergency repair, or do we just keep our fingers crossed and pray a lot? And
Well,
hope
the,
we-
the bottom line is them boilers are going to blow apart, and you ain't going to be able to weld them
Right.
after a while.
Right.
And all your loop is going to drain out, and you're going to have a flat building. You have to have some type of climate control in that building. That building is basically a very wet building. Them sump pumps in that building continuously run. Okay? I'm just afraid if you want to have some type of climate control in there, you're going to grow the M word. There's a mold.
Yeah, we've been through that before with other buildings. We don't want to go down
Yes.
that road.
So we've got a building basically that's getting ready to go at any minute,
Well, we have boilers that are getting ready to go at any
Yeah.
minute. Which is
directly
huge.
linked to the building. I mean,
Yes.
essentially. I mean, if
Yes.
the boilers go, then
The boilers go, basically,
we got to get the kids out of there.
you got to get the kids out of there.
Okay.
Mary Beth had an emergency plan for that.
Okay.
But
So there's a plan for that.
I mean, we're going to do our best. Okay, if I got to go in there and whatever we got to do, we got to run on one boiler, keep that boiler running, keep on bringing the welders in to try to patch it. We're going to get it through the winter.
Right, but at $3,500 a pop to have them welded. I mean, how many times have we had them welded?
They're certified welders.
No, I don't mean that's what no, I'm not complaining. I'm saying how many
Yeah.
if you weld it 10 times, you're into 30. I mean, you're into 10% of your cost of replacement.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
I
need
mean,
you do need some type of climate control in that building.
Well,
I
what-
mean, yeah, you could flat the building and basically drain all the loop and stuff like that, but my biggest concern is just the building growing mold. I mean, that's my biggest concern.
Okay, so the boilers could go at any minute. It'll cost anywhere between $388.5 on the low end.
That's a pretty good ballpark.
$2 to $2.5 million on the high end if we want to go full bore.
If you want to go full bore into it, yeah,
Okay, all right. And I'm just trying to regurgitate this just for my own, because I'm just trying to get around.
No, Larry, please do, because I'm not following that big jump.
Okay, well,
Oh.
What that buys us.
oh, that's
all new univents in the classrooms.
Oh,
it's like if you
That's
overhaul the
has
whole
control
building,
systems.
Yeah.
HVAC,
That's
everything.
gone from a 2-pipe to a 4-pipe, so you can control the humidity inside the building. That's the whole ballpark.
that's the whole.
Well, that's high end. Okay, that's to bring the building up to where our other buildings are at.
If we did these boilers and then you wanted to go down to over the next 5 years do the other upgrades, we can utilize those boilers for a 4-pipe system, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's not like these are specific to a 2-pipe system.
We got
could-
3 brand new chillers sitting outside right there right now at the building, where the old chillers basically they were past their life expectancy.
Okay.
Because chillers only last 20 years.
No, I
at
just wanted to
the
make sure we
most.
could utilize the stuff for if we wanted to upgrade the whole system in the future. That's all.
Right now, my biggest concern is if we're going to keep that building, whatever you want to do, you need new boilers.
If we don't have
If
new
you want to
boilers,
keep the building or whatever, my recommendation or what I'm suggesting is you don't want to flat that building. I don't know if you want to sell it, whatever you want to do. You have to have some type of climate control in that building. basically the gym floor, if you could take out building flat, the gym floor, I don't know what it's going to do. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what it's going to do.
Can you
It might
maintain-
not. You know, who knows?
Can you maintain the building just on one boiler? Climate control.
Climate control, yes. The problem is with that building, the way it's piped, the way the header comes across the top of the heating pipe, okay, it's going to be really rough just to put one boiler in there, the way it's piped. We could do it, repipe it and everything like that. That's no problem. But we could do it. We have the same scenario over at APC. We could go with one boiler and keep that boiler, the main one. You won't have a lead and lag system, you know, where your boilers cycle off and on. Okay, you just have one primary boiler. And when that boiler goes down, you would go to the old boiler, hoping and praying that it doesn't split apart. The problem is, when we did it at APC, the boiler what we have at APC right now is a sectional cast boiler. And basically it's a total different animal than a steel tube boiler. Okay? The sectional boiler is a lot better boiler. They last a lot longer. So basically all we do over there, we keep the condensing boiler running, and we use the sectional boiler as a backup.
Mr. Martino had a question.
I was just going to ask if you would take comments from the public before you close out this discussion.
Oh, sure. We can do that. Do we have does the board members have other questions, or you want to let the public jump in first, and maybe that'll bring something else up?
Go ahead.
Questions from
Let
the
our
public? Questions,
We only
comments?
have one public here. Unless, Carol, are you being a public?
She's technically considered a public
Okay, she's not on the team.
because we can't have a quorum.
Oh,
So,
I came out here, so I wasn't
okay.
talking to anybody's back.
I'm not recommending.
I have a couple questions before I make a pitch. Ken, you said the boilers are 388.5.
Mm-hmm.
That's inclusive installation. What about removing the old boiler?
That's part of it.
That's part of it?
Yeah.
So that's everything.
If you look at where Birdsboro is at, basically, the boilers basically are in a big pit, okay, from the first floor.
Oh, no, you showed them to us.
Yeah, you walk down
it.
it. Did I show you the how to get them out of
yeah,
there?
you have to go through
that's
that room
included.
and
That's what
That's
all I'm
that's
asking.
So you're going to cut
included.
them apart and stuff?
We don't have to cut them apart. They will fit out.
$389,000 roughly.
Yeah,
I'm rounding.
around it.
How much money do we have?
In capital,
Yes.
400 and some.
So that depletes us almost.
That depletes us.
Okay. We're talking about over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, we'd have to do more to the heating system?
Yeah.
Where do we get that money?
Oh, I
And
know.
that's the question. Nobody knows.
I have no idea,
Okay.
Rich.
Okay. So when Mr. Speed asked you if you could run on one boiler, I don't think he was talking about replacing just one. The boiler that's not split right now that you didn't just weld, could you run on that one boiler
Till it's
at a very low temperature just to keep the building climate?
well. The problem is, I don't think you really want to get the loop temperature where it should be up to the third floor. You got to run that. Yeah, you could on a low temperature, okay, but I can't guarantee you that boiler was already welded and that base is starting to mushroom out too. That thing is not going to split. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you. It's already welded, Rich.
No, I know, I saw. Two more things. As far as the busing, if you move 5th grade to the middle school, you already have buses running to Birdsboro for the middle school now. Whether they're sufficient with capacity, that remains to be seen, but you already have buses running there. So
Right.
I just don't know how
more
many
buses
additional
to go to
buses it would be.
Birdsboro. And Mary Beth, you said we'd have room for daycare if
If-
we move 5th grade, but not if we close the B's.
No,
Okay.
I don't believe so. I don't,
I just want to clarify
Yeah.
that, especially for the new members.
right.
Let me. Here's my whole take on the BEC, and I would love to have time to do studies and facility studies and cost studies and all this other stuff. I don't think we have time, and I'll tell you why. Kenny just said, it would deplete our capital reserve. We would have no money. If a roof goes somewhere, if a boiler goes somewhere else, we have no money. We have a debt that will not be paid off till 2033. No fault of anybody's, we have a debt that won't be paid off till 2033 if we do not borrow one more cent. So if we deplete that fund, the only thing we have available to us is to borrow. If we replace the boilers, we're looking at having to do more work to the heating system in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a given.
According to Train
One of
and
the people you brought in, that's a given. So if we don't replace the boilers and go on a wing and a prayer and keep the building open, and come next November a boiler goes, now we're stuck with having to replace them. That's why I don't think we could wait to make the decision. We can't afford not to make the decision. It's my opinion. That's all it is my opinion. But we spent $9 million on a building we have sitting empty, and now we're talking spending $2 million on another building that, by your recommendation and other board members' recommendations, said should have been the building that was closed 2 years ago. So, plus, Dr. Sanker and at least one other board member is talking about, well, we could redistrict and close this building in 2015-16. So my question is to the committee, why would we spend $400,000 to keep the building open 1 year? $400,000 that we don't have. It makes no sense to me.
Could we even sell? Could we sell the building as is anyway? I mean, would we be able to?
You could advertise it as is. Whether anybody would buy it, who knows?
Absolutely, it could be sold as is.
I'm sure it could, but
I think it could.
Yep, just like your kindergarten center was, and you heard the criticism for what you got for that.
Yeah.
And you're lucky, honestly, I think you're lucky you got that, because I was on the committee that studied buying it. So.
Let me just say two more things, and then I'll bite my tongue. I'm told my 3 minutes are up. But anyway, there is empty space in this building, and they're having trouble renting it. The market right now is not great,
right.
So whether you could sell it or not, I don't know. As is or fixed. The only other thing I want to say, for those of you that live in and around Birdsboro, and for the people of Birdsboro who are already on Facebook because they have winded this from the last meeting, it is an emotional issue, and I understand that. And it's a shame to rush into a decision that we shouldn't have to rush into, except the alternative is to spend $400,000 that we don't have. So that's my pitch.
I mean, I guess. Well, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was going to
open to the public right now.
I was going to let her go ahead, because I have some thoughts to rebuttal too. But
I have two questions. Number one, Birdsboro is our Title I building, so I don't know if closing it.
So is Monocacy.
Is Monocacy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What does that mean?
That means that we get federal monies for low income students. We have a higher percentage of socioeconomic disadvantaged children in two buildings.
So Monocacy is a Title I too?
Yeah.
Do we have to have, and I'm not taking your time,
Is there a way
but
to
you're the only one here, you've got to. Mrs. Torsha, do we have to have a percentage of children?
Yes.
Do you know what that is? What that number is? Off your head?
It's about, I believe it's 40%, but they give you some wiggle room because we're a little bit under it in both buildings. So there's like, it's like between 35 and 45% of your population that has to be in
all right,
that.
but that's something that we need to make sure we look at in that analysis. Okay, and you had another question?
Well, and when the enrollment data came out, when Mr. Seldenbridge did his analysis, I wasn't at the meeting, but I listened to it because I'm in the district. I have a kindergartner, I have a 3-year-old, and 15, 16, my second one will be in kindergarten. So I heard the tone and the enrollment numbers, and I listened to the capacity numbers, and I'm a math teacher, so I ran the numbers for the capacity. According to the numbers at that time, making MEC AAC, and this was before the conversation of closing it, the numbers made sense to me, but for 14-15, the projection of enrollment data was 1249. The capacity of those two buildings, according to that presentation, it was only 1,200. So according to the numbers at that time, they wouldn't fit in the capacity of those two buildings combined. I don't know if that's changed.
Unless you took fifth grade out.
No, this is including fifth grade. I moved fifth grade already in my analysis.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So I
okay.
moved fifth grade. And then in 15-16, it would be 1202. I'm sure we've lost probably 2 in the following year to be able to go into those two buildings. This was making the middle school 5 through 8. That went to 1164. The middle school capacity is 1280. So yes, there's room next year for the fifth grade to go to the middle school, but the K through 4 building is going to be tight, and I don't know what our true occupancy numbers are, and how, if we've lost 50 kids K through 4 district-wide to be able to truly fit in it. I get the needs. I see the financial piece. I'm just, again, it's the numbers piece. And as far as the busing, you said we had 3 BEC teachers, like 3 BEC 5th grade classes that would move.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that, 65, 70 kids?
They're probably around 22, 23 a class.
So 66, 67. So that would be maximum, what, 2 additional buses depending on the run.
Mm-hmm.
So just numbers, information, again, based off of the financial thing, just more information to throw into the mix of value. So just so you know, that's what I know. But I was concerned about Title I, and I don't know how close Amity is, what their percentage is, depending on where you push one, if everywhere would be Title I or not.
Right. I don't believe that the relocation of Title I students, the bulk of them would still go, and I don't believe that that should be a change to our funding. But
Carol, you had a...
I just was wondering if you knew what that amount was, because my recollection, looking at the income numbers, the federal dollars wasn't significant.
$304,000, $334,000.
Right now, that's going towards...
That
Per
we
school?
No, total.
For both. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's with
So
Title
this-
I, Title II.
Thank you.
So your analysis, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Megan Weber.
How are you? Your analysis showed in 15-16 that we're over in enrollment on...
For 14-15, we're over by 49 students of the
Right.
capacity. In 15-60, we're over by 2 at that time.
Okay.
And these are October numbers, I think. Yes, October 23rd. This is from the Annual School District enrollment projections and preliminary information.
And I didn't look at what enrollment would be for those two buildings because I was only recommending 5th grade moving.
You were recommending relocating.
Right. I wasn't doing the legwork at the bottom level, at the next level to look and see if do we.
Well, we're also in a perfect world. You may have, when you're counting children, you may have different groupings that don't fit into the classrooms. So that's an issue you have to leave wiggle room for.
That is true.
If I may, let me just say one more thing, because we've got, including me, like 5 new members here, 5 new board members. I read and reread the procedures today on if we decide to do this, what the time frame of doing it. If the board, Monday the 24th, proposes to close the building, because that's all the board can do on Monday would be to propose it, they would have to hold a public hearing. The public hearing would have to be advertised for 15 days prior to actually holding the hearing. After the hearing, then the board could vote yea or nay to actually propose to close it. Then there's a 3-month waiting period, not 90 days, 3 months. So from the 24th of February, which is the board meeting, 15 days is March 7th. I'm sorry, 4 days left, so it'll be March 11th. And then if they voted right then in the middle of March, you're looking at 90 days, so you're looking at the middle of June. And at that point, you would have to notify any affected teachers or other personnel. They would have to have 60 days notice. So you are right up against the deadline. We either make this decision to proceed this coming meeting, or you don't have the time to do it this year. I mean, it's that simple, because if you go beyond this meeting, you'll never make all the time frames to do it before the beginning of the school year.
Well, plus scheduling movers, everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
And God only knows if the snow's ever going to end.
but that's where the expediency comes from. I mean, the rules are that simple that either we start the process Monday the 24th or we don't start.
But I think another part of the problem would be is if we're over capacity of students in a building, that's not going to fly either.
You're
I
not
think
gonna
that's
be
a
able to-
bigger issue
Yeah.
in that if we're top heavy, even if it's for a year, I don't know how you get away with that.
Well, I say, and I do understand the immediacy because of the dates. I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing that, or not even arguing. I'm just stating that there's a whole lot of things to consider, and I can tell you from the L&I end of it, you're not going to get an occupancy permit on your overages if you don't have the facilities necessarily. And I mean, I think, and Ken had mentioned. Bathrooms are going to be, I mean, that's always an issue. And can you get exemptions from the UCC code? It's not easy.
It takes a while.
It's not easy. So, and I'm just going to throw out there too with the community thing. I understand it's emotional, but I think there is a financial component to that. And the reason I'm saying that is because you take an anchor out of a community that's already struggling. I mean, you can see that they're trying to redevelop. We have empty commercial buildings all over the place. You now take one more thing out, and it affects the revitalization, which in the long run affects your tax base. So if you're trying to bring commercial in and you're trying to bring revenue in, and if you do things that actually have the opposite effect, and down the road, it affects your bottom dollar. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things at play here, and I don't know that I know we don't have time to relax and make decisions, but I also don't know that it's in our financial best sense to hurry up. So we can look at we can try to come out with a recommendation out of committee. I'm not sure where everybody is standing on that, but
It wouldn't be my recommendation to be closing a building for the upcoming school year.
I don't think
that it, at least from the administrative perspective, that it would give us enough time to programmatically make sure that there's enough room, space, etc.
Can I ask what your emergency plan is?
If we had to close Birdsboro, then we would set the students up at Amity Elementary or Amity Primary Center for the rest of the school year. If he came to me and said, I can't get any heat in that building, then we would be setting up classrooms.
All right, so let's run with that a sec. Because if that would be our emergency contingency, because what I was looking at, well, can't we just run our emergency contingency plan into next year and not do anything? I know that's not ideal, but we can't do that next year because River Rock will be in there next year.
Right.
Are they taking the whole building?
Half.
No, but I don't know that. You'd run into
I wouldn't want to integrate
community issues with the integration.
Right.
You can't.
What's the contractual obligation that we have with River Rock in that building?
You'd have to notify them by July,
You can
I
terminate
think.
their lease
6 months.
by December 31st. You'd have to notify them by December 31st that you were terminating the lease as of next June 30th.
Right. We wouldn't be able to.
So the soonest you could get them out is the following school year. But something I think we're all missing, let's say capacity was an issue. And I realize it's a cost, but it's not $500,000. There are portable classrooms that could be used for 1 year if that was the case, that we have a 1 year overpopulation.
Portable bathrooms for elementary, you need bathrooms in them. That could be a little, all depends where you place them and everything like that. You'd have to run sewer and water to them.
And you'd probably have to do
I know
minimal
when
land
I first
development.
started here, Rich, I don't know if you lived here yet, but we had what we used to call Tin City over at the primary building.
There was a bunch of trailers over there.
Mrs. Torsia?
Yes.
I don't think I quite got the whole emergency plan. I mean, it didn't sound to me like you gave the whole plan to us. We kind
Well,
of cut you
we
off.
would have to relocate the entire Birdsboro building and put them inside of Amity Primary
Primary
Center.
building.
The building
They'd all
that's
go to
closed.
Amity.
They
Yeah,
would all
for the
have to go
remainder
to
of the school year.
Yeah.
But not the one we have closed.
Right.
They'd go to the closed school.
to the primary center.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we would have to be setting up classrooms, moving.
And we have to cohabitate with River Rock.
Not for there. Nobody's
Not
in there
for the remainder
right
of the school
now.
year right
And when
now.
do they go in?
August.
Okay.
How many
Okay.
students are
So
they
we're
gonna have?
talking this year. There's no
Yeah, and I meet with them
there's no issue with somebody
Right.
else in the building.
Up until
No.
August of this year.
Right.
Till August.
Because that's what I was missing.
Okay.
So
But they would be somebody that if you were really looking to sell a building and you were only looking to sell it for whatever, they would probably be somebody that would be possibly interested. I know that they dumped a ton of money into a building that they're leasing within the Wilson School District. So they would be somebody that you would want to have a conversation with because they're looking to be able to have programs and,
which would also be a way to get us out of the lease with them. Because if they were going to move over there, they'd certainly want to get out of their lease.
but that would be definitely a conversation that I would start with them. It wasn't an option for Amity because I think the worth of that building would be
Too high for that.
But you're not going to be able to sell Birdsboro without boilers. Just about anybody, I don't think.
That was the point I was trying to make earlier. Was like, if you just left it the way it was, the way it is now, you're gonna have a hard time selling that building,
Well,
and we'd still have to maintain
no.
it.
It depends who you're selling it to. If you're selling it to people who are doing individual offices or individual sections, the best way for them to rent from whoever owns it is to have a split system that just controls that part of the building.
Right.
So the people who are renting that building are paying their own utilities.
Right.
So you would split the cost of, I didn't do any commercial, but when I owned apartment buildings, and I always made sure that everybody had their own thermostat and their own heating unit, that was just primary to me.
Sure.
Because it simplified everything as far as running the building was concerned. And I think that...
Were they standalone units?
So there's also
it was a long time ago. They were gas units, individual, and home heating kind of thing. But yes, they were basically standalone.
Standalone.
Yeah.
Right. I lived in a house in Birdsboro that was 3 apartments. Originally was 1 converted to 3, had an old steam boiler, and the cost to switch that was astronomical.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I think it depends on. So
It does. Depends on what. But this building already doesn't have, and if we sold it, we'd sell it as is without heating system.
Yeah, and
right,
I
but
guess
it will affect your purchase price.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what I was getting at. If somebody's if somebody's looking at purchasing that from the district, they're gonna have to put money into it on top of whatever that purchase price
Right.
is. So is it a marketable thing?
My concern would be, and again, this would be a wing and a prayer, is if the boilers totally go and you can't control the climate and you
Then
get
we're in
mold,
trouble.
now
We got
how do you
another
sell
problem.
it?
Now
You
you're
know,
in double
so
trouble, yeah.
That is the issue, though. The condition of the building if it sits around too long.
because I know schools that have been on the market in other places in Montgomery County for decades that they're closed. I mean, what do you do with them?
Yeah.
You still got you got to heat it still,
Yeah.
or you're gonna have problems,
Yeah.
major problems.
So
How quickly could we get an appraisal on the building as a marketable value? I mean,
Well, you'd have to have the board approve it. So if they had it approved at the February 24th meeting, and then I guess the question, I mean, you'd have to, normally, I don't know what an appraisal would cost, but normally you'd have
$500
to,
to $800.
and I guess you wouldn't technically have to bid it then, I guess. You could get 3 phone quotes. I guess the board could authorize the appraisal at a cost not to exceed X, $1,000 or whatever, I would assume, and let administration handle the details. I don't know how long. I mean, appraisals typically take, I don't know, in my experience, 25 or 20 to 30 days, depending on how extensive they are.
Quick question. Could we accept outside money? I mean, what's our situation if some company or business in the community would donate money to fix that heating system? Could that be done?
We're a 50. I mean, yeah, we're
We're a
yes.
nonprofit.
They
If
can
you
take-
find somebody that
Should
wants
we go knock on Mascara's door? Is that what you're saying?
we can take donations. They can get a tax deduction. I mean, really, it's no different than donating to a
this
church
is what,
or a
you know,
private or
yeah,
nonprofit.
there would be a tax write-off for the whoever would do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is potential.
Yeah, that to me, that's a Hail Mary kind of an attitude.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
snap over the head to a safety the first play of the game.
That's out there.
See that somewhere?
All right. Were there any more comments or questions from the public? No, no? Okay. Well, I would ask if the committee has a strong feeling one way. I guess here's where I'm coming from. I guess as the chairperson, I'll tell you. I don't know that I feel comfortable making a recommendation that we close Birdsboro Elementary. So I'm not going to put that forward. If somebody else on the committee feels that way and wants to put that forward, we can take a consensus. But
I'm happy to put that forward.
Okay.
Our backs are against the wall on this. We don't have the money. There's a lot of things going against it that I see on the negative side. There's not a lot on the plus side. So if a motion needs to be made, I'm going to motion that we move forward to closing BEC.
I don't really know that it's a motion. I think we just need a consent. I mean, I guess then if 2 other people can see, I mean, I think to come out of committee, you need 3 out of the 4. You need a quorum. So
I'll second.
Oh, geez. Thank you, everybody.
sorry.
So, yeah.
All the glory, man.
Yeah, so for me, when I come to making a tough decision like this, I like the cost-benefit analysis, and I don't have any of it.
Right.
And it's got to be a quick decision, and that's never a good position to be in.
We're not making a decision. We're just making a recommendation to
Sure.
bring it up to the board.
And I'll say, if the recommendation doesn't come out of facilities, I mean, it can still be brought up in front of the board and voted on. It just doesn't come as the recommended outcome of committee.
I don't know how we can make the call with the information we have in front of us today.
Well,
That's where I'm at on this. And I'm a person who can put the emotional aspects aside, and if I saw that we could pull this off and we could do it, I would go for that. But I don't know that we have the information we need to make that decision. And next week is the meeting where we would have to vote on this. Are we going to, in a week's time, are we going to have all our I's dotted and T's crossed so we could say for sure this is the right thing to do? And that's a tough position to be in.
well, again, we can pull a plug on it at any time in the process. I mean, it's not like we're a bit under the gun in the time frame Mr. Martino gave us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But the thing is, if you start something in motion, you can stop it at any point in time. Is that correct, Mr. Martino?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Since you're asking, yeah, I mean, you cannot make a final decision until after your public hearing,
Right.
until after the 3-month period has passed.
So, basically speaking, if we don't start it now, we have no chance. If we do start it now, we can shut it off at any time.
That's the way I see it.
And that
It's a good argument.
okay.
It's a good argument.
That's my point, because if we don't do something, we can't do anything.
Yeah. No, I get that.
I mean, at any point in time, something can come up one way or the other that is going to change the scale on this or the balance on this. And at that point, we can shut it off, but we can't start it. Because if we start it then, it's going to be too late.
I hear you, and I think it's a good argument. I think that many of the board members might already have their mind made up here. I might be wrong about that, but that's the sense I'm getting. And I just want the facts, and I don't know that in a week's time we're going to get all the facts in front of us to make that decision to move forward on it and alarm the public in the process.
They're already alarmed.
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is breathe heavy on an issue, and it hits them. I mean, did they ever go out there and tell you what our green, about our students and how we funded them going on a trip? No, they talk about how we might close a school. You know, it makes better headlines.
Right.
So we've already, and you know.
I'm. Like I said, I would like. I'm a fact person too. I want to.
Well,
What's the recommendation that we're making specifically? That the board brings this up to a vote next week?
We're recommending that we propose to close it. So, and we can't. Right. It would be to start the process of closing the building. Because you would have to, like you had said, have the public hearing, have the 90-day time or the 3-month period.
If at any time you come up, or any board member, or the public, whatever, comes up with a valid argument to not do it, we can stop. We can stop the process.
I don't have an issue with taking it up for a vote. I mean, I'm not saying I'm totally against it. I'm saying I'm not going to recommend it at this point in time.
I don't think.
So where are we going to put these kids?
Well, that's my concern.
I think stuff keeps coming up.
We don't
Right
know
now,
what
I
the
mean,
percentage of the numbers are.
right
So
now,
we don't
we're
have
at
Amity. So you could have 5 trailers out there if a larger portion
Well,
of.
first of all, you got to purchase these trailers, okay?
Or rent them, and you got to get permission from the town.
Then
And you have to sell them back. They don't
then-
always want to buy them back.
It's not like you can just put it there. You got to go to the
can't get
township
rid
and
of
get
these
permission to
things.
do it. They might make you do land development.
You can't get rid of them. Okay, you need bathrooms, you need sewer, you need water. You got to make sure the stuff don't freeze in the wintertime if you put modulars out there.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's all a situation where we can pull the plug on it.
Well, and I agree with that, but here's my concern. The other night at a school board meeting, there was a vote made to move the administrative offices to the high school, right? There was no cost analysis. There was no information. That's what we wanted to do, and that's what we did. And here we are in a budget crisis, right? And we don't know, we can't replace boilers. We don't know how we're going to pay for X, Y, and Z. But we're going to pay to move the administrative offices to the high school, and we don't even know what that cost is. It could be $1,000, it could be $20,000, it could be $30,000. Nobody knows. We just voted to do it. So I understand that you guys are saying we can pull the plug at any time. My fear is once you get this ball rolling, you're not going to pull the plug, and I'm not going to recommend it. If three people from this committee want to recommend it, that's fine. I think you need to know what your facts are, and I don't think we know it. And I don't think you can recommend something you don't know the facts on. You can do it. I think you're asking for trouble. That's all. So I guess not to rush this, but we got another meeting, so I'm going to ask if it doesn't matter to me which side you come down. It's going to come up. I can tell you right now, it's going to be on the board agenda whether we recommend it or not, because it's going to be on the agenda. So
Yeah, we don't have to make that recommendation.
No.
No.
So you shouldn't feel pressure either way. You should if you want
Yeah, then
to open it up for
that's-
discussion, that's fine if you recommend it. If
Then
you
that
don't,
clears
that's
the air
fine
for
too.
me. I don't want to recommend it then. I mean, it'll come up for vote. I think we got to get our facts straight. I think Tamara's right about that.
So it'll just
And
come
I'm
out
not-
as there's no recommendation.
And
Either
I'm
way.
not saying
that's
I'm
all.
completely opposed to this either. I'd like to see us find a way to make this work because I know that we got some real issues with the budget and we've got to find a way to make this work. And if it makes sense to do it and we can find a way to do it, we're just under so much pressure time-wise
Right.
that we're not going to get the facts before we have to make the call. And it
right.
bothers me.
So
Well, of course.
I'm just going to put out that the facilities committee didn't come to a recommendation. That'll just go to the board for vote. To keep this moving, real quick, advertise the APC building for lease. My recommendation for that, and if somebody else has, I would think that we would want to talk to different leasing agents. Get proposals. You've had more experience
No,
with.
actually, Andrew is more into commercial stuff. I don't
But
know.
but real estate wise, wouldn't
Yeah.
you think that we'd want to pick 2 or 3 or 4 and talk to them and maybe get proposals on ideas rather than just open up the phone book and pick
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe
Yes.
what I'm thinking is our next meeting would be the first Monday, which is a couple weeks from now. So maybe at that meeting would it make sense to see if we could get proposals for people in the next couple weeks?
I can put that out through my office because we have some commercial people in my office, and get somebody from there to look it over and give us an
Okay.
estimate of price per square foot that we can rent it for.
That'd be good.
Okay. And I would say in the meantime, I could shoot Andrew an email and see if he could recommend 3 or 4 people.
Right.
Maybe, and then I could reach out to them and see if we could get proposals for leasing,
Yeah.
and we could talk about
Yeah.
that at the next meeting.
Yeah.
So, unless you have other thoughts on how we go about that.
So basically, the bottom line is, if we do Birdsboro, close Birdsboro, where are we going to stick these kids?
Right.
Well, I don't know that yet. I think on
What are our options?
If-
Mobile classrooms, trailers?
They got to get manufactured.
I think
Probably about 50 to 60,000 per unit.
Well, I guess if the board votes on the 24th to start the process to close it, then our next facilities meeting that's going to have to be the main topic. Is what do we do with these?
Why can't you populate the Amity Primary Center?
Well, we could do that too,
That would be an option.
but we would have to.
But then we become mingling those students.
Well,
with
or we
River Rock.
well can we get a portable classroom for River Rock, Mr. Martino?
If you tried to populate the APC,
Oh.
River Rock in there.
Oh,
you
my
could-
God.
Well, right.
You
I
can't
understand
do
that, but
that.
can
No,
you
we can't
move
do
that? Could we somehow get them into Birdsboro or have a portable? I don't know. I'm thinking out loud. I know we can't commingle.
Then we're right back where we started there with the boiler
Right.
thing. If
Exactly.
we lease it
You
to,
still have to boil it. Right.
So, the bottom
Goes
line
right
is,
around.
What's the problem with keeping them together at Amity? With primary, there's lots of entrances.
The community's going to have they're going to be in an open.
No, the commingling statement.
Well, they don't.
The community doesn't even like the.
I would say the community doesn't want them in the community,
doesn't even
period.
want them in the building.
Although the community is not going to want Birdsboro shut down either, so I guess the question is, do we bend under pressure? I don't know. So we could talk about the leasing. I'll try to see if I can get some proposals from real estate leasing companies. Go ahead.
Can Mrs. Torsha do? How long does it take to do a more in-depth study as to where the kids would go if we closed Birdsboro? Is your study
I don't have, I'm not, as an administrator, I wasn't recommending closing.
No,
and-
I know
yeah.
that.
So
I know.
I don't have a study that I've
Okay.
done with regards to what it would take to put 3 buildings into 2.
You can do that tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So basically, what you had was an emergency plan.
What we had only
Well,
was
we had
strictly
was
emergency.
to go to
right.
APC.
Right.
Which would only work
APC
for
right
this
now
year.
for the rest of the school year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can-
and
I
then
mean-
all right,
you're
can I-
alone, and that would be.
The building
Can I ask
should have
you
been
one
kept
thing?
open.
Can you find out tomorrow, or set it in motion, or with maybe Brian or whoever? Is there any way that we can get out of River Rock for next year?
That's a good question.
I don't think there is necessarily, but see if there's any way that we could do that, even if we have to pay them money that
Let's ask the
they've
question.
given us or something. I don't know.
Ask the question.
Yeah, right. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Well, it
That
may,
one.
but so what?
Well, it doesn't hurt to ask our attorney. You know, if you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate that. And then, because I think that would give us more information. I mean, if we knew
That
that
would
we could
solve
move
one-
Birdsboro
that would give
kids
us
to
one
APC, it would be another option.
And then what's the revenue loss
Right. Well,
that we're getting?
we can figure that. I mean, we know that because we know that
Yeah.
the
Based on what the
revenue.
contract says.
Yeah.
We won't have to pay $388,000.
And then I think another thing was the update on the long-range capital plan, which was the
Yeah, it's just a capital plan, to update the capital plan. I'm working with reserve advisors and basically to get a long-term capital plan to budget for as far as mechanicals in the school building. Basically what it is anywhere from pavement, cracked pavements to inside, to heat pumps, everything like that. It's a great tool to have, something we should have.
okay. So is that the company that Andrew had?
Yes.
Okay. So so they're working on getting us a proposal to do that, correct? Or
Hopefully it don't snow very much tonight that I can get on this tomorrow, and everything works out.
Okay.
Nothing breaks.
all right.
Good luck with that.
And all right. So for the next meeting, which would be March.
Can
Third-
we just
sorry.
bring up the marquee at the high school?
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna. Sorry, I was just gonna end with that. I thought it was a positive.
At the
note.
high school, I met with Mr. Henkel, the principal at the high school. The student body's interested in getting a new marquee for out in front of the high school. It basically would be the same size, at no cost to the school district. It'd be an LED lighted marquee for the front of the high school.
Does that meet the township regulations?
Marquee was talking about a sign?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just want to make sure.
So
Yeah.
like Birdsboro has here.
Yeah.
It's a
But-
sign. It's basically like something that Birdsboro has here. It's a scroll sign, LED. You basically go down, plug your USB cord into it. You put on what you want to have on it.
Oh, that'll be
It's
exciting.
120 volt. I mean, there's no Wi-Fi down there or anything like that. So you'd have to plug your USB cord in with a computer, stand there, and put it on this board, whatever you want to put on. No cost to the school district. It's paid by clubs that the kids raise the money. They're really
Can I?
anxious.
Where were the
I
advertising
know, but can I?
go?
We could advertise. But honestly,
I don't-
before they go too far down this, somebody needs to check with the township and see if
Already
they
did.
they allow LED electronic signage.
Yep, I already
Okay.
gave everything. I already gave everything to Carol and
Okay. No, that's
Matt,
fine. I just
Matt
wanted to make
from
sure.
SDE basically said we won't even need a permit.
Wow, that's nice. All right.
Okay, sounds too good to be true.
I was going to say,
Where's the advertising revenue going?
we're going to talk about that at the revenue enhancement.
So you can put that on the board agenda
Okay,
if you would.
sure.
You know that it's proposed at no cost to the school district.
Ken, any ongoing maintenance involved in something like that?
Well, I can almost guarantee you there'll be a couple beer bottles chucked at it as passing cars go by, paintballs, or whatever. You know, it's going to happen.
Sure.
It's only a
Electric.
matter of time.
Is there a service contract or anything, like the company that installs it? Do they give us any kind of maintenance plan? Is it insured?
We buy the sign, maintenance installs it. Our maintenance installs it.
It would be insured just like your other sign is, probably.
We have a $2,500 deductible.
Okay, so we do all the maintenance on it then.
Someone throws something at it and breaks it, we're paying for it.
We're paying for it. Okay.
Huh?
How high off the ground is it?
It sits in the marquee that's already there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, it sits in the marquee. Hold on a second. I think I
Did they
have.
put a price on it already?
Yeah,
they know what it's
they
gonna
got
cost?
they got a price.
Okay.
What is the price anyway?
They're usually like 18 grand, 20 grand.
You got it.
Okay, it's a lot of money.
How much is it?
You're usually 18
This
to
is
22,000.
basically what we're looking
Yeah.
at. It's something like this.
Where are they getting that kind of stuff?
No, well,
In the
kids
clubs.
are. The clubs are.
The kids club, student government.
Wouldn't they
all
like to
sorts of
say
clubs.
Birdsboro Elementary instead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might need a few more zeros on there, but
This is a couple different ones.
Jeremy starts
with
Just one step.
That's right.
Yeah,
Matching.
Kids did all the research. Student government, am I right, Maggie? Student government, Bailey's classroom did the research on it. I went to the township to make sure we didn't
Great.
need what we needed for to sign, and
great.
we're good to go.
Okay. All right. No, I will. That's a nice piece of uplifting news. That's why I was going to leave that till the end. But all right. So I have for the next meeting agenda, which would be the first Monday, which I believe is the 3rd. The reserve proposal, the APC lease proposals, hopefully, and then we'll be talking more about moving things around if the board moves forward with proposing to close BEC. And we didn't talk about. I don't know if you need to. I mean, I guess you guys are just on point with moving the admin offices. You don't really have anything to report, I guess, at this point. You've been busy plowing snow. So,
I'm fixing stuff.
okay. Anybody else have something to put on for the next agenda or something that I missed in the recap?
Same time.
Yes.
17.
No, I'm sorry, the first
the
Monday.
first Monday
we
of the
had
month.
it today because of the snow. It snowed
Snow
on the
last
3rd.
week.
It should be the 3rd
fine.
at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Here.
My email's not set.
Okay. Thanks for coming. I guess that'll close the facilities meeting.